In 1947, British India gained independence. The land was divided into India and Pakistan along religious lines. Pakistan had two parts separated by over 1,000 miles of Indian territory. West Pakistan and East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, were culturally distinct. West Pakistan held most of the political and economic power. East Pakistan, despite a larger population, was treated as a colony. Bengali culture was suppressed, leading to resentment. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change South Asia's history. The 1960s witnessed growing unrest in East Pakistan. The Bengali population felt increasingly sidelined. The central government, based in West Pakistan, paid little attention to their concerns. The gap between the two wings continued to widen. The 1970 general election was a turning point. The Awami League, a political party led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, won a landslide victory in East Pakistan. The Awami League campaigned for greater autonomy for East Pakistan. Their victory reflected the widespread desire for change and self-determination. However, the ruling elite in West Pakistan refused to accept the election results. They feared the Awami League's victory would lead to the breakup of Pakistan. The refusal to transfer power to the Awami League further alienated the Bengali population. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Negotiations between the Awami League and the Pakistani government failed. The Pakistani military, dominated by West Pakistani officers, began a brutal crackdown on Bengali civilians in East Pakistan. The stage was set for a full-blown conflict. The Awami League, under Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's leadership, emerged as the voice of the Bengali people. Mujib, as he was popularly known, articulated the aspirations of the Bengali population for self-determination and autonomy. The Awami League's six-point movement, launched in 1966, demanded greater autonomy for East Pakistan within the framework of Pakistan. The 6 points called for a federal parliamentary system with a weak center, control over East Pakistan's economy, and separate currencies for the two wings. These demands, though radical, were rooted in the desire for equality and a fair share of power within the Pakistani Federation. The Awami League's 6-point program resonated with the Bengali population, who saw it as a roadmap for a just and equitable society. The landslide victory of the Awami League in the 1970 general election demonstrated the overwhelming support for their demands. The people of East Pakistan had spoken, and their message was clear. They wanted autonomy and an end to discrimination. In response to the Awami League's victory and growing demands for autonomy, the Pakistani military launched a brutal crackdown on the civilian population of East Pakistan. Codenamed Operation Searchlight, this military operation aimed to suppress the Bengali independence movement by force. On the night of March 25, 1971, the Pakistani army unleashed a reign of terror in Dhaka, the capital of East Pakistan. They targeted civilians, students, intellectuals, and political opponents. Universities, newspapers, and cultural centers were attacked. Operation Searchlight marked the beginning of a genocide that would claim the lives of hundreds of thousands of Bengalis. The Pakistani army, aided by local collaborators, carried out widespread killings, rape, and arson. The brutality of the crackdown shocked the world. Millions of Bengalis fled their homes to escape the violence. They sought refuge in neighboring India, creating a humanitarian crisis. The images of refugees fleeing across the border, carrying tales of horror and suffering, galvanized international opinion against Pakistan. India's response: a helping hand or strategic move. The brutal crackdown in East Pakistan and the resulting refugee crisis posed a significant challenge for India. India, already grappling with its own internal problems, was suddenly faced with millions of refugees streaming across its borders. The influx of refugees put an immense strain on India's resources and economy. However, beyond the logistical challenges, the crisis in East Pakistan had profound geopolitical implications for India. India saw an opportunity to weaken Pakistan, its arch-rival. A protracted conflict in East Pakistan would also give India a chance to secure its eastern borders and potentially gain influence in the region. Driven by a mix of humanitarian concerns, strategic calculations, and domestic politics, India decided to intervene in the conflict. India provided military and financial support to the Mukti Bahini, the Bengali resistance fighters battling for independence. India's involvement transformed the conflict into a regional war. It also internationalized the crisis, drawing the attention of the superpowers and the United Nations. The war begins. A nation fights for its birth. On December 3, 1971, Pakistan launched preemptive airstrikes on Indian airfields, marking the official start of the war. The Indian Army, supporting the Mukti Bahini, launched a coordinated offensive on both the eastern and western fronts. The war in East Pakistan was characterized by fierce fighting between the Pakistani Army and the joint forces of India and the Mukti Bahini. The Mukti Bahini, familiar with the terrain and supported by the local population, played a crucial role in the war effort. The Indian Navy also played a decisive role, effectively blockading East Pakistan and preventing Pakistani reinforcements from reaching the war zone. The Battle of Dhaka, which resulted in the surrender of Pakistani forces, was a decisive turning point in the war. After just 13 days of fighting, the Pakistani army in East Pakistan surrendered unconditionally to the Indian Army and the Mukti Bahini. The instrument of surrender was signed on December 16, 1971, marking the birth of a new nation, Bangladesh. International involvement. The world takes notice. The 1971 war between India and Pakistan was not just a regional conflict. It had global implications. The war drew the attention of the superpowers, each with its own interests and alliances in the region. The United States, a close ally of Pakistan, supported Pakistan diplomatically and militarily. However, the US was also wary of escalating the conflict and risking a wider war. The Soviet Union, on the other hand, supported India, its Cold War ally. The United Nations, despite calls for a ceasefire and a negotiated settlement, was largely ineffective in preventing the conflict or mitigating its consequences. The Security Council was deadlocked due to the veto power of the permanent members. Public opinion worldwide, particularly in Western countries, was largely sympathetic to the plight of the Bengali people. The images of atrocities committed by the Pakistani army and the stories of refugees fleeing violence turned the tide of global opinion against Pakistan. The 1971 war highlighted the complexities of international relations and the limitations of international organizations in resolving conflicts. It also demonstrated the power of public opinion and the role of media in shaping global perceptions. Victory and independence, the birth of Bangladesh. On December 16, 1971, after just 13 days of fighting, the Pakistani army in East Pakistan surrendered unconditionally to the joint forces of India and the Mukti Bahini. This historic surrender marked the end of the war and the birth of a new nation, Bangladesh. The creation of Bangladesh was a momentous event in South Asian history. It was a victory for the Bengali people who had fought valiantly for their right to self-determination. It was also a testament to the power of nationalism and the human spirit's resilience. The birth of Bangladesh had far-reaching consequences for the region and beyond. It redrew the political map of South Asia. It also set a precedent for the creation of new nation-states based on ethnic and linguistic identity. The emergence of Bangladesh as an independent nation also had significant implications for India, Pakistan, and the regional balance of power. For India, it was a strategic victory, weakening Pakistan and enhancing India's standing in the region. The legacy of 1971, shaping South Asia. The 1971 war and the creation of Bangladesh cast a long shadow over South Asia. It profoundly impacted the region's political landscape, leaving unresolved issues and complex relationships. The war resulted in a humiliating defeat for Pakistan and the loss of its eastern wing. For Bangladesh, it was a defining moment, emerging as a secular democracy. The war also had a lasting impact on India-Pakistan relations, deepening mistrust and animosity. The 1971 war was a defining moment in South Asian history.